Hey everyone, welcome. Hope you had a fantastic, 3-day weekend if you had a 3-day weekend. I know not all of us get to have one and so forth. I would call mine fantastic because, I got a lot of work done. We are redesigning, rebuilding our kitchen from the stud out, right? What's the deal? I have an itchy nose all of a sudden, right? So, here I want to make sure that my audio is bouncing around properly. Yes, the audio is bouncing around properly. We ripped out our old kitchen. This home is probably 40 years old, something like that. We ripped out our entire kitchen and redid a lot of some of the plumbing, a ton of the wiring, redid it, and then drywall and floor and all that, and installing the cabinets now. And I'm installing the cabinets, I say myself, my wife and I are installing the cabinets in ourselves, and you know what? That's tricky stuff. Once you catch the vision, once you get it, it starts to come together. But I'll tell you what, it's not just put it in place and screw it in the wall. There's some measuring and some leveling, some squaring and all that sort of stuff. But it's coming together. Thank goodness for YouTube, right? Everything we're doing in this kitchen has been thanks to YouTube. It has shown us everything that we need to do. And every once in a while, you find somebody who really knows what they're talking about. And furthermore, they know what you need to know, right? It's one thing to be an expert in something, all right? There's lots of experts. It's quite another thing to be an expert, but understand what questions a new person has and understand what a new person doesn't know but needs to know. This is actually what makes for a really good teacher, really good instructor in any field, is that they are able to let go of the curse of knowledge. The curse of knowledge is when somebody who really knows what they're talking about just kind of assumes that everybody knows this stuff. And so when they're teaching somebody, they're not really starting at the very beginning. They're starting somewhere higher because they just assume subconsciously that everybody knows the basic stuff. So a really good instructor is somebody who really knows how to start at the very beginning. I came across this interesting study. I came across it. I heard about it in a psychology podcast in which they would take a guitar instructor, right? And they would teach the guitar instructor would teach the student and so forth. But then what they did was they asked the guitar instructor to play with the left hand. Okay, so they're used to playing this way, right? Well, now switch everything around. And the instructor basically had to learn to play all over again. And in learning to play all over again, they actually became a better instructor because they had to rediscover those things they didn't know when they started playing and figure out how to overcome them. And so fascinating stuff. So we're starting to get folks on board. We're going to go ahead and start in about 6 minutes. So hope things are going well. Chime on in. Let me know that you're on board, and we'll get going when things start hitting. In the meantime, I'm going to show you some of my comic books. Here, let me move this out of the way and move that out of the way. There we go. Now I can see things a little bit better. So, yeah, I like comic books. My wife and I got into collecting comic books many, many years ago. And frankly, we got in during the comic book bubble of the 1990s. We're going to talk more about bubbles later on, maybe not in this class. But we got sucked into the bubble. We're not really into them anymore, but I've got a lot of great comic books to show for when we were. So let me show you some of my favorites here. So this is Vampirella #1, the Warren Vampirella #1, the original. Here, let's get that sheen off, the reflection off of it. This is Warren Vampirella #1, first appearance of Vampirella. Now, it just so happens that, yeah, it's her first appearance, but she's really kind of a host in a whole bunch of little short stories. That's what these Warren comic books were all about. So it's not like she was a major character. She was kind of like the Elvira of the comic, just host, introducing and giving the moral of each story in the comic book. When it comes to actual stories, and let me see if I can find it. Here we go. This is number 8, which is really her first story. Vampirella #8 really featured her first, hey, this is a Vampirella story. And then sticking with Vampirella just for this little discussion, let's see if I can find, oh gosh, where is it? I have the Vampirella origin story, but it may not be in this pile. I thought it was. No, may not be in this pile. Yeah, I don't have the origin story with me up here. So I'll put these down here. Like, what's that guy doing? So yeah, there's just a few of them. Maybe later on, if you're interested, I can show you some of the others. Not today, right? But in the opening spiel of future lectures. So we've got a couple of folks with us. Good. We'll be starting here in about 3 minutes, and we'll get into the material. Once again, I hope you had a pretty good weekend. Let me know what you did over the weekend, if anything interesting. I did my kitchen, still doing my kitchen. Yeah, that's been going on now for, and I'm not making this up, 7 months. We've been 7 months without a kitchen. That's pretty heinous, let me tell you. But we can see the finish line. It's probably going to be another 3 months. But we can see the finish line. Oh. So let me know what you did over the long weekend, if you had a long weekend. Good, getting some more folks coming in. Chime in, say hi, let us know that life is good for you. Or if it's not good, say life is going to get better. Because it is. It is. One of these days I might tell you about the happiness theory. You know, that there's everybody has this constant state of happiness, and every once in a while we get a blip up and we get all ecstatic, and every once in a while something bad happens and we get depressed, but we always kind of return to an equilibrium, which is why rich people can get depressed. It's like, what do you mean you have all this money? Yeah, no, my equilibrium is right about here. All right, couple more minutes and we will get going. I got some stories for you today. Topic of email. It's not like email is going to be heinously a fascinating topic, which is actually part of the problem with email. We'll get into that. But got some good stories for you from my Intel days. All right. Yeah. Got more folks coming in. Good. We will be getting started here momentarily. All right, welcome everyone. Today we get to talk about the incredibly fascinating, just mind-bending experience that is writing and reading emails. Okay, all right, it's not that fascinating of a topic, which, as I said in the little intro thing, crystal clear. Thank you, Brian and Brick. Excellent. I just asked about the sound. The fact that email is boring is part of its problem. We're going to come back to that. So, here's the thing. Let me tell you a little bit about email in my world. Okay, so I'm going to come on over here. And when I was with Intel Corporation, I was with Intel for a little over 10 years. I would receive between 60 to 80 emails a day. And there's actually been business studies done on email at Intel and how crazy it is. 60 to 80 emails a day was not high if you look at the average, okay? I think if you look at the studies, I think the average that the particular study I'm thinking of said that there were an average of 85 emails a day for folks, right? So I have between 60 and 80 a day. All right, well, that means that, you know, if I'm at work for 10 hours, I'm processing probably about one email every 10 minutes. I'm processing an email every 10 minutes. And that, of course, means reading it, processing it mentally, responding to it, or doing what the person asked you to do in the email. That's heinous. That is just absolutely insane and heinous and awful in every way, shape, and form. And by the way, today, Intel is actually looking for ways to improve this, to actually make email less of a problem. Nevertheless, email is an integral part of internal business communication. There's just no getting around it. So I'd like to ask you guys, what is your experience with email? So how often do you check your email in a day or a week? Is email a regular part of your communication at work? How many emails in a day or a week do you think you get? Okay, let's kind of see where things are right now. And I'll be curious to see if you folks say things like, well, actually, we use Slack more, or we don't use emails, we use these business management forms and so forth. So let me know what is your experience? What is your experience? Oh, gosh, you know how when you're typing, and I'm not a very good typist, it's awful, with email. Okay, let's do that for a couple minutes, and we are going to start, of course, racking up some of our points. You know what? I'm going to go to puppy cam, but we have no puppies up here. Okay, we're going to come on back, and I'm telling you what, so good news, we've got ourselves right away with the first darn question, you guys. You know what? I bet if I had gone backwards, I could have done that better. Let's see if by going backwards. Yes, okay. I just need to know go backwards. And by the way, these have all been real-world examples. So that means we get to do our timestamp before we've even begun. All right, this is really cool. Of course, we're going to get some references to past lectures. So the irony is not lost on me. Send me an email with a timestamp of 8:36. Okay, 8:36 is the timestamp you want to send to me. And you know how it works. I get you some extra credit. So yeah, not lost on me, the irony. Let's take a look at these because this, okay, guys, this actually is interesting and fascinating to me because one of the reasons I think it's really important for business professors to keep their pulse on what's happening in the real world is because things have changed, right? I was with Intel 15 years ago. Yeah, things have changed since then. And so only, lo and behold, we see that here. You know, Brian says, you know, uses it pretty sporadically though, checks it every day, right? Okay, once a day or so, or every day. You know, Jacob, you know, 10, 15 daily, right? All right. Now, Matt's group uses Slack, and a few other folks in there said, hey, I use Slack as well. Slack is a project management platform that allows people to communicate in a little bit more real time using texting and internal messages to that enterprise platform. Pretty powerful, pretty powerful. Let's see. So, you know, Brooke uses it, Colton, check it daily. You know, Drew might check it 2 or 3 times a day, right? 50 to 80 a week, right? 10 emails a day, says Bryce. Anastasia, you know, the random ads. Oh my gosh, isn't that true? Bryce, for personal, I look at it only maybe, you know, every other day, right? Matt mainly uses it for signing forms. Yes, that makes good sense. Aaron has several accounts, different purposes. Now, Aaron's not my age, but Aaron's a little bit older than some of the rest of us, right? And yeah, my generation, I have like 5 or 6 email accounts, and I use them for different purposes, much like Aaron does here, you know, checking them at least daily, right? Currently 20 a day. Okay, very good, very good. So here's the thing. We all use email to some extent or another. It's pretty ubiquitous, but it's not terribly exciting stuff. I mean, email is email, even just saying the word. But that's part of the problem, is that, remember, a good business communication starts with what is your purpose, who is your audience, then what is the best channel for that audience, and then what is the best format to use for that particular channel, and what is the tone you want to use, and then the actual message. Here's the problem with email. Email is or in many cases, as we've seen here, it's changing. In many cases, email has been the de facto channel for internal communication, okay? What do I mean by the de facto channel? It means who cares what the purpose is? I don't care who the audience is. We just send emails, okay? Which means there were many emails out there that shouldn't have been emails in the first place, given the purpose and the audience, all right? The next thing that has been a problem with email is that because it is so normal, because it is just so de facto, the default option, we really haven't really given a whole lot of thought to what makes a good email or an atrocious email. We just write an email. It's like, this isn't rocket science. You just write a quick email. Well, it may not be rocket science, but there is a science. And so, because it is the default option when it should not be, and because we treat it like it's just a meh channel when we shouldn't, here's what happens. You can chime in if you like, but my guess is that you just hit the delete key on most of your emails. Don't even read them that much. Scan it maybe, but you just mostly hit delete. I know that on my phone, I can't bring my phone near my mic. It messes up the mic. I just swipe, 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 swipe. That just delete, 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 delete. If it's not from someone I care about or a subject topic I care about, which we'll talk about, I just hit delete. Yeah, Braden, 80% of them. Matt, yep, I'm telling you, folks. Now, I want you to just wrap your mind around this. A message deleted before it's even read is not a communicated message. Okay, I know that's so stupidly obvious. I don't understand why Lon is making the point. But let me pursue this. Okay, if email is the default channel, purpose be damned and audience be damned, we use email in this business. So if it's the default channel, and if we don't give it the respect that it's due and learn how to do it right, that means that 80%, select all delete, Brooke, right? That means the vast majority of our communications are unread. And if the vast majority of our communications are unread, we are not communicating. And so, to me, as a business communicator, it just drives me nuts when we're communicating at business through a channel that does not communicate. So, you get it, right? Right? Oh, by the way, Joseph just, and Joseph knows this because he's been around this block, right? So, just so you know, when somebody, and I've seen a couple of them here, when somebody agrees or comments on a comment, that's a reference to a past lecture because you guys are contributing to a lecture. And so if you agree with someone or disagree or comment on it or have conversations internally inside the comment section there, then the chat section, then that counts as a reference to a past lecture. Just so you know. All right? Joseph knows this. Okay. So if this is really the case, let's talk about how to do this right. Okay? It matters. It matters. All right. First thing, should it even be an email? Right? So remember, I said it's often used as the default channel, right? It shouldn't be the default. Sometimes it's the right channel, sometimes it's not. So as it says here, if you just need to, if you have a quick and easy request to make, a quick question, you just need a piece of information, or you just need to ask for a quick, sort of favor, or you need to validate an assumption, email is a great channel. So if you're emailing me and saying, hey, just to verify, the test is open note, right? And I go, yeah, it's open note. And that's an awful example because we don't have, we have quizzes. We don't have exams, but we have quizzes. So I might get an email and say, hey, just want to make sure these quizzes are open note, right? And I go, yep, open note, go at it. Great thing for an email, right? Much like a text. On the other hand, if you want to have a discussion and really get into the guts of something, email is not the right way to go. There are many other channels that would be more effective than email. Now, in the same way, when it comes to is email the right channel to use to initiate a communication, we need to ask the question, should you reply to an email? I had a friend at work at Intel who said something really fascinating and astute one time. He said, emails are like rabbits. You put one out and 8 come back. And he was so right? So he was much more sagacious, and sagacious meaning deliberate, wise, about when he would send an email or when he would reply to an email. Because there's kind of this weird thing, and I see it sometime in texting, where if somebody sends a text, the other person kind of feels obligated to say a text back or an email back. So some emails you don't need to respond, all right? If I get an email saying, hey, you forgot to, I'll tell you what, you're all going to send me an email giving me the timestamp, right? I'm not going to reply to that email. I'm going to give you the extra credit points. That's my reply, but I'm not going to reply to the email. Doesn't need a reply. Okay, so that's the first thing. Should we even use email in the first place? Brian said, by the way, I learned about effective emails in my English class last semester. The longer the email, the less likely people are to read it. We're busy people. Yes. We're going to talk about that. You are so freaking right. By the way, that is a reference to a past lecture. Okay? Yeah, great, Aaron. Okay, so let's continue on. Now, the subject line. Are we really going to talk about the subject line? Yes, because the subject line is like the least leveraged, the least used aspect of what can make something an effective email. The subject line is the clickbait. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't say you need a provocative clickbait sort of, subject line, but you need a subject line that says, what's in it for me? That clearly states why the person should open the email, okay? So for instance, and there's a video about this on my Nutshell Brainery if you want to take a look at it. My business partner, who I worked with at Intel, she tells the story of where Intel had to basically, they were saying, hey, we've given you a check, we sent you a paycheck or something, and it hasn't been cashed in 2 years or whatever. And they're like, you need to cash this check or, we're going to take the money away, right? Because we need to balance our books. This is a legal thing, right? And so the first thing Intel did was they sent an email and they said, seeking assistance in balancing Intel Pay records. That was the subject line or something lame like that. And then the email basically talked about all the legal ramifications for the company and not having payroll balanced out and so forth. And hidden in the email there is somewhere saying, hey, you need to cash your check or ask for a new one, or we're going to take your money. Nobody read that email. Nobody responded. Well, Penny went out and she changed the headline, the subject line to, your money, you want it, we might take it. You better believe people are clicking on that. Your money, you want it, we might take it. Because people are like, whoa. What do you mean? Of course I want my money. What do you mean you're about to take it? I'm going to open that email. So the subject line is your first weapon, your first tool in your arsenal to get people to, instead of select all and delete like me and Brooke and so forth, or swiping to delete it, to actually open that thing up, right? So Lorena says, urgent and direct gets attention. Yes, all right? Urgent and direct gets attention. That is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Okay, next one. And Lorena, you basically could write the next slide here. Grab and hold the reader's attention, right? As I said before, if your email isn't read in the first place, then you're not going to communicate. You need to grab their attention and then hold their attention. And just as she said, urgent and direct gets attention. Aaron, up, bottom line, up front. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh my gosh. I don't know what past lecture that was from, but I'm giving you that. Now, in communication, what we often talk about, Aaron, is called the reverse pyramid. And the reverse pyramid basically says, I want to pull over my whiteboard, but that's all right. Put your most important information first. And then through the email, you can get less and less important. But assume that your reader is only going to read the first couple sentences. Okay? I rarely read a long email, the whole email. I very rarely read it. I read the first couple sentences. I might scan the rest. So the bottom line up front absolutely makes sense. Urgent and direct gets attention. And that's what we're talking about here. Your subject line is going to get them to open that son of a gun. And then your first sentence and your first paragraph, your lead paragraph, need to really grab their attention and make them realize why this matters for them. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Okay? Not what's in it for you. This is where we need to understand our audience. Okay, next one. Direct and to the point. Okay? This phrase here, I want to have, actually, wrong tool, I want this one. I want to have this written in the stars with 1,000 drones. Don't waste the reader's time. Okay? As, let's see, Brian said this earlier, right, in his reference to the English lecture. People are busy, especially in business. Okay? Business people are very busy. They want the right information at the right time to make the right decisions and move the hell on. Okay? There's a lot of work to be done. And if I'm getting 80 emails in a day, reading emails is not what I'm paid to do. Making money for my shareholders, that's what I'm paid to do. And so we want to be direct and to the point. Get right to the point, be direct. The more you try to massage the message in meaningless verbosity, the sooner readers will hit the delete key. What do I mean by that? Oh my gosh, it's like the video, and I really hoped you watched the video that's in the syllabus of Just Yell Duck. Later on, do yourself a favor, go to YouTube and look up the video for Just Yell Duck. In the video, the general is trying to show the heavy, weighty importance of this grand victory that he and his men have just, blah, 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 right? Where they're just like, just say we won or something, right? The more we try to sound all fancy and important and deep and philosophical and so forth, the more people are like, you know what, you're freaking wasting my time. Delete, right? Okay, let's continue on. Now, like I say, I want this written in the stars. Be simple, clear, and concise. All right? Now, the long emails, like you said, Brian, the long emails don't get read. The long emails don't get read. All right? And so you want to be very, very concise, short. Don't make them have to work hard to get the message. Okay? Here's one of my grand, more prose than poetry. I like that, Matt. More prose than poetry. Sweet. I like that. I like that a lot. Here's the thing is, reading is work. Come on. I'm not saying anything revolutionary or provocative there. Reading is work. And people don't want to have to work hard just to get the information they need to go on and do the real work. Again, I'm not paid to read emails. I'm paid to make money for my shareholders, right? And in the same way, if you're requiring me to spend so much of my mental faculties and cognitive resources to discern and tease out of this monstrosity of an email the 2 or 3 pieces of information I need to move forward with my day, I'm not going to be happy with you, okay? Don't make me work. Don't make me work. Just give me the information, right? Clear, simple, clear, concise, right? Absolutely. Okay, moving on. Style and tone, right? Each workplace has its own cultural bent. You want to make sure that your email matches the style and tone that's appropriate for the workplace, as well as a particular style and tone with whomever you're communicating with. Now, later on in this lecture series, we're going to be talking about the effect that power has in in the workplace in terms of communication. So, for example, and it's just the way it is, when you communicate with me, you're communicating from the position of student to professor. When I communicate with you, I communicate from the position of professor to student. You can't make that social context just evaporate, right? And so we have to be cognizant of how power and position and these social constructs affect the nature of communication. But for this, you just really want to make sure that your tone is appropriate. I had a experience once, so I'm working on my PhD. I'm early in my PhD. And guys, you know I'm pretty informal. I'm informal. I'm talking about comic books when we started, right? I also don't like position and that sort of, I go by Lon. I don't go by Professor or Dr. Schiffbauer, just Lon. So I don't truck with that sort of nonsense. So I'm working on my PhD and I send my professor an email. And I said, hey, listen, I think I'm working on the right direction. I'm going the right direction here. Do me a favor, though, if you could take a look at it and just let me know that I'm on the right path or if I'm smoking dope. That's what I said. And she wrote back and she was not pleased. She says, first of all, you do not call me by my first name. You call me Dr. So-and-so. And you do not ask if you are smoking dope. That is not the appropriate tone or language to use with a professor when working on your doctorate. And I was like, okay. I clearly misread. I didn't even try to read, if I'm honest. I missed this whole thing big time. Now, that's the last I ever emailed her, and that's the last class I took with her, because if that's the sort of thing that's important to her, then she can go off and worry about that with her students. I'll go off and worry about other things with my students. But I totally missed that style and tone, right? Okay. Getting there. Avoid spin. This is a big one in corporate communication. Let me explain what spin is. Spin is when you're trying to take bad news and make it sound like it's good news, right? So, for example, let's say that a school contacts you. This is going to sound familiar. Let's say the school contacts you and says, hey, because of the COVID pandemic, We are now going to move the next semester's classes are going to be 100% online. It's going to work great. We've had new connectivity. We've installed new software. We're training our professors to be effective online instructors. You're going to have access to the same material, the same stuff, and all that sort of stuff. It's going to be great. Tuition is due on this date. Go ahead and pay it. Everything's going to be normal. And you say, so tuition's the same? We're still paying student fees that would normally give us access to the student center and clubs and sports and all that sort of stuff. Oh, yeah, gosh, so yeah, tuition's going to be the same. Everything's the same. And a lot of students during the pandemic said, no, I don't think so. I feel that an online experience is a subpar experience compared to what I was looking for, okay? And if I am going to get a subpar experience compared to what I was promised with this tuition or these student fees, I want these student fees refunded or I want the tuition reduced. And so spin is when the school promotes all the things that are the same and wonderful and fantastic, and you don't have to worry about anything, and we've got it all going. Oh, just pay your tuition and fees and we'll be fine. You know, they're pushing that under. You don't want to spin this. You want to be open and honest, right? Here's the thing. Your readers are not idiots. Your readers are not idiots. You know, I'm just going to say it, and I fall into this trap. When I get writing, sometimes I think, oh, I'm so smart and clever, and I have way with words, and I can write both prose and poetry, and I can make this sound so... No. The receiver of that email is going to go, this is a bunch of malarkey, okay? They're going to see right through any contrived bias or interpretation that you're trying to push on them. Don't take them for fools. Just deliver the message with authenticity, okay? And that's going to remove 50% of your reason for any, verbosity, there, that's the word, verbosity. Lots of words. That's what it means, right? That'll take out all the need for that. All right. Last one. Hey, you know what? And you know this. Avoid sarcasm and exaggeration. Email is an atrocious medium for sarcasm, exaggeration, hyperbole. These are really nuanced forms of humor, right? Sarcasm is more nuanced and so forth. And email is not a nuanced channel in any way, shape, or form, right? It's pretty much a blunt hammer. It's a blunt stone. That's what email is. So don't try to get nuance with it. Now, I will say this. I am a fan of emojis. I'm a fan of emojis in email. Now, I suspect that 4 out of 5 email business professors will say, no emojis, that's not professional, and so on and so forth. I actually disagree. Here's the thing. First of all, emojis are ubiquitous. They have become part of our alphabet. They've become part of our vocabulary, emojis. Second is, emojis can kind of help you communicate where there is nuance to what you're saying, right? It can kind of take the sting off of something that's particularly heavy sounding, right? And finally, it also kind of shows a sense of trust between you and the reader, because I would not use emojis with you guys if I didn't feel a sense of trust in our relationship, right? It's just too standoffish to not use them. So personally, I'm okay with emojis. But in general, as a general rule of thumb, really avoid sarcasm and exaggeration and things like that. Okay? So that's everything in an email. Now, I want to be clear. I understand that looks really simple and really straightforward. I get it. Playing a guitar is really simple and straightforward. You push down on these strings and you pluck these strings. How hard can it be? But I'll tell you what, 99 times out of 100, and I'm making crap up there, people don't follow these rules. And as a result, we're getting atrocious emails. So list these rules out, right? You can print them from Canvas, or if you want, you can, kind of make a little checklist, put it up in your cubicle if you work in a cubicle or at home or wherever, and try to follow these. You'll be surprised at how much they can help you improve your email. Okay? All right. So we are all set. You're going to send me your timestamp email. It'll work fine. And as always, I'm going to stick around to see if there are any questions, any comments, anything like that. Otherwise, we won't see each other until Monday, since we have it's Thursday. We'll meet up on Thursday, and we'll talk then. So in the meantime, have a fantastic week, and we'll talk to you again soon.